This is WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana, and you are listening to Count It Out. Arriba!
Listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approve Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. My name is Tyler. I am joined by Mike, and we are coming off of our live experience at the Elimination Chamber. And I think it's safe to say that we will always be a Bill Apter Seal of Approve show and not a Pat McAfee seal of approval show, because Pat McAfee definitely not a big fan of us Canadians this week.
Well, We'll let's get into the show. We'll probably touch on that. I don't want to harp on it, but we'll talk about that for a few minutes. But yeah, man, lots to unpack. We're not doing a list this week, guys, because there's so much to unpack from this weekend. Not only because we were there live, but because it was what a show, what a weekend. So much happened this weekend that we need to unpack and need to talk about. Let me tell you, Tyler, I spent a lot of Saturday night complaining about the heating situation in the Sky Dome. It was really fucking cold on the floor.
That's funny. I was boiling.
I remember you saying that. But heat rises, right?
There was lots of heat in that building, brother.
But where I was sitting, it was very cold. What I didn't realize was that was just the feeling of hell freezing over. Because what we witnessed that night was something we honestly did not expect to happen at all at this point.
So
where do you want to start, man?
You know what? I've got a vision in my head on how I want to go about this, if you'll indulge me to take the ship here for a minute, because there is a lot to talk about. And the first thing I want to do is I want to give a big thank you to our guest on the show last week, TJ Wilson, and to everybody and to Natty for that interview and for all the publications that picked us up. That was it was very nice to see, and it kind of started our road to the Elimination Chamber. And we talked to TJ last week on the show just about how it's not just an event when WWE comes to Toronto. They made it into a whole weekend. And, we had Chris Van Vliet. Chris Van Vliet was doing shows. Smash Wrestling did a show hours before the event right across the street.
Right across the street.
Friday Night SmackDown was the night before as well, which I do want to get back to and talk about the great Kevin Owens promo that was on that show.
Sure.
But more importantly, I want to start with your personal experience, because this was a big event for you. And I'm not talking I'm not talking about as a wrestling fan. I'm talking about as a father and as a human being, because I want to get personal with you if I can, Mike. And I didn't tell you I'm going to do any of this stuff, but this is a hard week for you. The day after the Elimination Chamber, it's the unfortunate anniversary of our good friend of the show and one of your best friends and brothers, Jamesers. And you put a beautiful post out on Facebook comparing going to this event and tying it in with his memory with your son. So let me get deep with you, man. Like, how much on a personal level did taking your son to Elimination Chamber mean to you?
I mean, it would have meant a lot to me regardless. Sharing my fandom with Finn was always important to me. When I say that, I've never pushed wrestling on him. Wrestling was just something he saw. Daddy liked it, so he wanted to know more about it. And he got bit and he became a fan. So it was cool to me that without my pressuring, he became a fan. And with my gentle help, he became a mega fan. And so bringing him to his first show is already going to be extremely special to me. But you're right. Wrestling is what connected myself with a lot of my friends in high school. That's why we were friends in the first place. And it wasn't any different with James. James and I bonded over professional wrestling. Now, over the next 30 years, that bond would grow to 1,000 other things. You know, we had a shared love of Kevin Smith movies. We had a shared love of a lot of different bands and movies and sports and stuff like that. But it always came back to wrestling. So for me to spend the weekend that I I was literally still grieving for James, and the weekend that I would have been all in my head, just obsessing about missing my friend, I was able to focus on something that was really beautiful, and that was taking our love for wrestling and give it to my son and bring him to his first show and watch him fall in love with live wrestling, which is there's nothing like live wrestling. We both know that. Watching him take all that in, I knew that that's what James would have wanted from me. He wouldn't want me sitting at home just being sad and he'd be pissed off at me if he knew if I was doing that instead of what I did. So it was kind of a full circle moment, celebrating my friendship with James through my son. And then our good friends Adam and Matt came down for the weekend, and being able to wake up on the morning of his anniversary and being with two people that are very close to me, people that knew James, that was really important to me, and that helped out big time as well. So yeah, it was a very, very emotional weekend. It was a roller coaster of a weekend, but the best part of it was being with my son. It was a full day experience. Waking up first thing in the morning, hanging out with him, waiting for my friends to show up. The minute Adam and Matt showed up, he brought Adam right up to his bedroom and showed him his wrestling ring and all his action figures and stuff like that. And then we took off to Toronto and we spent the day, the four of us, and really made a day of it. And watching him, I thought I was going to take a lot of pictures and a lot of videos at the show, but I didn't because I was so just involved in his experience. And you can't take that away from me. That's one of the greatest days of my life.
So off air, you and I have spoken about the event, but I haven't got to really talk to you much about Finn's experience. So that's what I'm really excited to hear about. Take me through the eyes of Finn through this day. And, there's nothing like walking into, and even now at 43 years or 40, well, I'm an age man, I'm not 43 yet. Even now at 40
I
years
am.
old, yes, for our ages respectively, I still get like a little goosebumpy and excited feeling when I walk
Well,
through the
yeah,
curtains and see the ring for a minute. So kind of tell me, take me through and what you saw Finn experience. What are things that he really took to in his live experience. But do you remember like walking through and seeing his reaction of that moment?
100%. There was no way I could have prepared him for what he was going to see. In his mind, a wrestling show is Barry wrestling. You know what I mean? And I kept telling him, I didn't want him to be disappointed. I'm like, we won't be sitting near the ring. You won't see the wrestlers walk by you. And, that's not what it is. This is not indie wrestling. It's hard to explain to a 6 year old the difference between indie wrestling and WWE. And you have to bring them, you have to show them.
To be
So
fair,
we
it's
get to
also
the
hard to
building.
explain that to some adults as well.
Oh, you're not wrong. We get to the building and he's just in awe. It's so big. It's much bigger than he's used to. I could tell he's nervous, but at the same time he feels safe because he's with me and he's looking around. Bring him down. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I don't usually do this. I'm pretty frugal when it comes to shit like this. But because it was his first show, I splurged. I got really fucking good tickets. So we were just off the floor, like literally just off the floor. We were just above the entranceway. So our view was tremendous. And when he got in there and he looked down, he sat in his seat, he looks straight ahead and he sees the ring. I could see his eyes just light up. And he's like, is this where we're sitting the whole time? I said, yeah. He goes, is that where the wrestlers are going to come from? I said, yeah. Whoa. And then everything that followed that was a whole new experience. Every time fireworks would shoot off, he would lose his mind. He's like, fireworks inside a building? Like he'd never experienced something like that, right? So all those little things, all the things that we take for granted after 40 years of fanship, he it's he doesn't take that stuff for granted. It's all new to him. It's all, all the bells and whistles are so special to him, and it was cool to see because it made it more special for me.
What's your highlight of watching Finn throughout his experience? What's the moment that kind of stands out for you and being like, man,
It,
that's awesome?
there was a few. Him booing Logan Paul, it was hilarious to me. Him singing along to the songs he knows was tremendous. But this is going to come as no surprise. His reaction when John Cena came out for the Elimination Chamber. I tried my best to videotape some of the entrances, like the bigger entrances that I liked, and I'm like, purely for the podcast and for our Instagram reel, I'm like, oh, I should try to get John Cena on camera. I'm like, fuck that. If I'm gonna have anything on camera during this, I'm gonna put it on my son. And I'm so glad I did, because I got to capture the realism of him seeing his hero come out for the first time. And I wasn't disappointed. You've seen the video. He lights right up. He's chanting.
He's singing there. I saw him singing.
He's cheering. He's doing the "You Can't See Me." He's singing the song. He was just in seventh heaven, man. He was so happy, and it was already, by the time the chamber started, it's already 2.5 hours after his bedtime. That poor kid.
Mine too.
That poor kid. When the Cody Rock segment started, he was done. His eyes were drooping and shit. Like I'm literally going, all right, wrap this up, because I do not want to carry this kid out of the Sky Dome. For those who don't know me or my family, my son is 6 and he's the size of a 9-year-old. So carrying him out of that stadium was not going to be fun. But yeah, it all turned out okay. He had the time of his life. I don't think he'll ever stop talking about it. Another experience that he absolutely loved was going to the WWE shop.
Mm.
He was like a kid in the candy store there. He was really good. Well, I told him months before, whenever he does chores or something, whatever, he gets money for his piggy bank. I said, when it comes to March 1st, whatever you have in your piggy bank, I'll double it. And that's what you get to spend at the store. So he had $75 to spend at the store. He was so smart with his money. He goes around and he had 2 shirts he wanted. He had to get his John Cena shirt, but he also had a really cool shirt with all the Elimination Chamber participants on it, and it said "I was there" on the back. He really liked that shirt too. But then he said, "But Dad, I really want a hat too." Now, any other 6-year-old would have tried to swindle me and be like, "Can I get all of it?" Not him, man. He'd be like, I know it's not kids. He asked me the prices, and he's like, "I know I can't get them all. Dad, I'm going to put this one back and get a hat, okay?" Like, he was just so price conscious of what he wanted to get, but it was important to him. He had the Cena hat and the Cena shirt, and he was decked out in the Cena merch. He thankfully he doesn't want to burn it now, but to say he had the time of his life is an understatement. Even the small things, like going out to dinner before the show with Matt and Andrew, because he kept Matt and Adam, sorry, because he kept saying things like boys trip and I'm on my first road trip, and it was a special thing to him. He'd never been in that kind of environment before, right? It didn't feel like a trip with mommy and daddy.
Yeah, yeah,
You
so and
know?
it was so. It was his first boys' trip. Like, if you really
Yeah,
think about it, it was you and two of your childhood friends,
yeah,
and your son. Like, it's his first boys' trip. Like, we
yeah.
all remember. Like, these are the moments that he's gonna remember forever. So, and
Exactly.
what a show he picked to come to. My
My God.
my Elimination Chamber day was a lot different than yours. I did not get downtown Toronto until we did not get to our seats until after the national anthems were sang. We were very
Mm,
behind schedule. I will take the blame for that because I made a detour during the daytime and I scooted down and counted out a interview with WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana, which you
mhm,
can keep your eyes open for at some point down the road, which was a very cool experience. And, from a personal standpoint for me too, Tito Santana, like we talked about on the show, one of the main reasons, well,
love
the
Tito.
the main reason why I got into wrestling was because of my great grandfather.
Yeah,
And Tito Santana was like one of our favorites together. So
yeah.
like the memories I have of sitting on the couch with my great grandfather and drop kicking him like while he was like on the couch, and but we would watch Tito Santana, and I specifically remember like sharing moments during Tito Santana matches with him.
Mhm.
So it was really cool for me to get to interview him, almost like an honor to my grandfather to an
Yeah,
extent. Like
absolutely.
I texted a picture of Tito and myself to my mom after, and I was just like, Grampy would be really proud of this one, and she was just blown away by it. Like, oh my God,
That's
this
really
is
cool.
so like that was a cool moment to have, and that was really nice. And I can't say enough great things about Tito Santana. He is just a phenomenal human being, and
Yeah.
the interview is really fun. And I will give one spoiler because I asked him one very hard hitting question, and I won't tell you his
Mm,
answer to it. But and I'll thank Adam for putting this question in my head. I had to confirm or deny if he was indeed the brother to Reba McEntire, as Bobby
To,
Heenan
yeah,
claimed
to Ariba
to
McIntyre.
Reba McEntire, as Bobby Heenan claimed at WrestleMania 8. So Tito puts the rumors to rest. You will hear it live on Counted Out. And you know what? Like, I'm actually really proud of this interview too, because it's the first interview where I didn't know if I was gonna get it, and I didn't really have like. Usually, I over prep for interviews, as you know, Mike.
Mhm.
We'll like for instance, when we had TJ last week, I probably had 47,000 pages of notes and questions. Like, I like to over prep
Uh-huh.
just in case. You never know how a person's going to be with an interview. They can be very detailed in their answers. They can be short in their answers. So I like to play on caution. I walked into Tito. I had about two questions in my head, but I didn't have a. I usually have a card for in-person interviews with like some point form notes on it. I just went dry. I had nothing, and I just
Yeah.
the whole interview was just called. We called it in the ring, brother, and I was really
Yeah.
proud. Like an interview, I was really proud of this one.
At,
So
at any point, did you refer to him as Chico?
we did talk about
Oh,
Chico's.
really?
We did
Nice.
talk about that, and again, check out the interview, and I will say like. Tito Santana has a book out and it's called Don't Call Me Chico. And he talks
Mhm.
about why he names it that and the impact of that name. We talk all about it. It's a great interview.
Love it. Love it.
So so after that though,
It's cool for me too, because as you know, long before John Cena, Tito Santana was my son's favorite wrestler.
absolutely. So I can't wait for Finn
Thanks,
to see that.
thanks to WrestleMania 8.
Yeah, and we talked about WrestleMania 8 as well. So by the time we got home from that, I went down to the event with my wife, which was a lot of fun for me. She's been to a couple events with me before, and she has a good time at the live events. I have a hard time getting her to watch it at home, but she'll watch the Royal Rumble to an extent, and she'll have a
Sure.
couple drinks with me and my brothers at WrestleMania and whatever. But going down live, she usually has a pretty good time. So we got down there very late and we did. We had a great time. I want to give a big thanks to Jay for the wedding gift. That was very kind of him to hook myself and my wife up with that tickets to the show. We had great seats. We were sitting in the 500 level, but we were like dead center of the ring. Like we had a great view of
Nice.
everything. We could see the entrances perfectly. Um, and let's start to get into the event then, because I was very skeptical of the Sky Dome hosting the
Yeah,
event
I
coming
know you
into it.
were. as soon as you found out that they were doing it at the Skydome, you're like, I was excited as hell because my very first show ever was at the Skydome.
Mhm.
So it was cool to me that my first show would be the same venue that Finney's first show would be at.
See, and I
So
get
I
that.
thought that was cool. But then you were just like, you were skeptical isn't even the word. You were just so very blasé. You're like, yeah, the Skydome sucks. I don't like the Skydome. I want to go to the ACC.
I stand
Did
by
you
my words. I don't like the
did you
Skydome.
go? Well, I'm going to pull the curtain back because you texted me
I
halfway
did.
through the show saying, okay, the Skydome's pretty sick.
Now, I have context behind this text. I texted you at the beginning of the show after I got in my seat. Now, when I
Mhm.
walked into the venue, listen, man, seeing the Skydome set up for wrestling is
Amazing.
it's very cool. It looks
Yeah.
incredible. The vibes and the atmosphere. When I walked into
Mhm.
the building and we got out, I had a lot of flashbacks to my time at WrestleMania 18 and to a couple house shows that I've been to at the Skydome, and it's a very cool feeling. I got the nostalgia vibes. I was excited about it.
Yeah.
However, I just find that the way that the building is built and how big it is and echoey it is, that it just doesn't translate well for fans in wrestling. The sound gets so lost in there. I've spoken to multiple people that were like, man, that was a shitty crowd in Toronto.
And it
And it
wasn't.
couldn't be farther from the truth.
Yeah.
So visually, it looks very cool, but as you're watching the product, it's not a great venue for wrestling, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Just
I mean,
because
the same can be said about concerts.
I
People
hate
complain
going to
about
concerts at the Skydome. It sucks.
the acoustics there are not made. The one and only reason why anybody holds concerts there is because they know if it's a bigger artist like your Taylor Swifts, your Ed Sheerans, or your whatever,
Metallica.
they just want to get as many people in there as possible. And I get that, but I will go to the ACC or a smaller venue any day of the week before I go to the Skydome for a
Yeah.
concert.
So yeah, that's my biggest like complain about it. I found that the acoustics really hurt the presentation, and it wasn't really until Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's match that like the arena kind of got in sync a little bit. You know what I mean? Like because you would
Yeah,
hear it. It took some time because that match the crowd was hot the whole time, but
yeah,
by the time one section was like chanting and cheering. By the time it got around the building, it was like just faded because they just couldn't like towards the end
yeah.
of the
No,
match, it got hot, and when Randy Orton
yeah,
came out, that like when those big moments happen and everybody reacts at the same time, it's
yeah.
electric in there. But it
I
just,
got you.
you know what I mean? So that's my only complaint about running at the Skydome. Like visually, I had great views of my seats. Like I got some great videos. I had a great time with all of that. But yeah, the acoustics definitely hurt it.
I haven't watched it on television yet, so I'd be interested to see how that comes about on TV. If you can hear the crowd or not, if we sounded dead, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I mean,
We've heard that complaint from wrestlers about not the Skydome per se, but stadiums in general.
yeah,
The first time they wrestled stadiums, one of the first, I think it was Edge did an interview years and years ago, and he was I don't know what stadium he was talking about, but I think it was one of the TLC matches. It might have been WrestleMania 16, where he was talking. He goes, "Are we shitting the bed here? Like,
yeah,
do we talk
17,
because
yeah.
we can't hear anything." And what they didn't realize is that in stadiums like that, the sound just goes straight up and doesn't come back down.
Mm,
So they weren't hearing the crowd. And Edge flat out says sometimes it's hard to wrestle in that environment because you feed off the fans.
100%.
You need that crowd interaction. So I'm thinking the Skydome is probably in that same category. You know,
How do you want to go about the event? Do you want to run it down
I would
match
love
by
to run it down.
match?
Yeah, let's run it down. And I want to start right at the beginning. I don't want to harp on this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I have a couple quick opinions, and then you can say your piece as well. But let's talk about one of the elephants in the room right away. The night started with the national anthems. Night started with the American national anthem. And just like what we saw at the Four Nations hockey tournament a couple weeks ago, Toronto wasn't having it. They booed the hell out of that anthem. From a personal standpoint, I was not part of the booing. I don't feel the need to disrespect that anthem. It's not that woman's fault that we're having issues with the States right now. It's not that song's fault. It's not 90% of the American citizens' fault. I felt no reason to disparage it. Playing devil's advocate to myself, do I understand why people are angry with American culture right now? I don't want to make this into a big political rant, and I'm not going to, but is there reasons for us as Canadians to not be exactly happy with the politics of the United States right now? Of course there is. And if that is the way that some people are going to feel the need to get that across, I think maybe they're in the right, because while that's not my form, maybe they're in the right, because I'd rather hear that than violence. There's way worse ways to get your view across, right? Like you said earlier, Pat McAfee was quite offended by it, but you know what? We're not the one trying to annex your fucking country, buddy. So until you put yourselves in our shoes as Canadians, I don't give a fuck what your opinion is on what happened there that night. I don't. Call us ungrateful. Ungrateful to who? Like there's more at play right there. Me personally, I think it was in bad taste for them to come out and sing the national anthem that night, regardless. You're in Canada, you're not in the States. You were supposed to be a global company, not just representing one country. So to come out and sing your national anthem in front of us, I almost felt like they did it on purpose. Like,
good heat magnet.
Now, and jumping forward a little bit, it was a great heat magnet for a certain Elimination Chamber member.
I thought that was genius.
Logan Paul took that and ran with it, and I thought that was great. What was your thoughts on the booing situation?
So I was in the hallway walking towards my seat when the national anthems went on. So I was just trying to tell if they were saying boo or if they were saying boo earns.
That's the first thing I did. I texted our counted out group. I'm like, I'm saying boo earns.
I think that the WWE knew what they were doing, playing the national anthem there.
Yeah.
And you have to expect, like, if you're seeing the national anthem being booed at sporting events, basketball games, hockey games, whatever, damn well that wrestling fans are going to boo it, because that's what we do. Like, that's
right. Yeah.
I'm torn on it. I'm kind of like you. Like, I understand why it's happening. I just think national anthems are they're pretty, like, people die for their countries, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I just don't think there was a need to play the American national anthem at this event. But again, you know me, Mike. I think everything's a work. So I think there definitely was a reason why this was played.
I think they full out knew it was going to happen. And my only problem, if I was to nitpick and say any problem I had with it, I think Pat McAfee could have shut his fucking mouth. I don't think he needed to turn heel on Canada.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to channel his inner Jerry Lawler too, because it wasn't. Whatever. You could tell it was like there was definitely truth to it, but he was also saying it in his worker voice too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know if McAfee was just trying to put himself over and get some heat as well.
I'm ready to move on. Thankfully, now we did follow that with a hell of an ovation for our own national anthem. You want to talk about the acoustics in that building? We broke that barrier with Old Canada. That was loud and rowdy, and people were very patriotic that night. And then right after it was done, it was forgotten about. There was no Canada chance. Like I guarantee you, like like this is why I don't understand why this is such a big deal to a guy like Pat McAfee. You brought out a fucking anybody that wasn't Canadian during the 90s, and you got your USA chance, and everybody who wasn't American was a bad guy. We lived through that for years. Where if you weren't American, you were a bad guy.
They used to make the babyface Canadians change their hometowns. Jericho was from
Yes,
New York, Christian,
yeah.
Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? Like,
I
there's
mean, we lived through this for years and years. So don't now tell me that we're not allowed to boo your country. Suck it. But anyways,
what did you
I was able to move on very quickly from it.
what did you think of the visual of the Elimination Chamber in general?
Oh man,
So we
walking
opened with
into
that
that building.
women's match.
So we walk into the building, and the cage was already down. They lifted it so that they could give us the visual of it coming back down, but it was already down. We walked in, and I'm just like, "Ooh, that set the tone for the night for me." Seeing it in person for the first time, and then they lifted it, and then watching it come back down with the smoke and the visuals, the lighting, the music.
I love that
Watching it come
music.
back down
Dun,
is
dun, dun,
amazing.
dun.
Yeah, me too. So good. It looks really awesome on television. We've been watching this thing for nearly 20 years, and it always looks cool on TV. But in person, there's something extra special about watching it come down like that. It's just really, really cool.
Well, and
What,
the night started out hot because not only did we get right into the chamber match with the women, but we got the immediate return of Jade Cargill, who got a
okay,
monstrous ovation when she came down.
I gotta talk about that for a second because so Finn's still learning about some wrestlers. Like he doesn't know, and he's 6, so and he doesn't watch wrestling every week, and I kind of limit what he does watch, and you know, so there's a lot of wrestlers on the card he doesn't know, and when a new one comes out, he'll ask me who is that, and blah blah blah. Well, he found himself drawn to Naomi because I think because of her entrance. He loved
Mhm.
he loved her entrance and the glow and stuff like that. She gets in the ring and he looks at me and he goes, "Dad, I think that's my new favorite." He goes, I'm gonna be Naomi's biggest fan." I said, "Okay." 5 seconds later, she was murdered. Oh my God. What a great way to bring Jade back. Um, Jade comes in, you think she's gonna go for Liv, and I don't want to say I called it on the show a couple weeks ago, so I think it was somewhat predictable regardless. So I think a lot of people called it. But when she came in, she swerves, goes for Naomi, and kills her. And I think one of the best parts of this was Bianca's selling.
Fantastic.
Bianca trapped in that pod, crying, trying to fight her way out. And then another thing I love is when her pod did release, she tried to go out. She almost said "fuck this match," and she went straight for the door until Liv grabbed her and pulled her back in. What beautiful storytelling that was! I loved this. Was I'm forgive me because I don't. I hope it's not recency bias. I don't think it is, but I'm going to be saying this phrase a lot through the show. That was the best women's chamber so far. And I'm going to give you several reasons why throughout our little discussion here. But from a theatrical standpoint, Bianca told a hell of a story in this chamber match.
I like that Bianca was locked in the chamber as well, because there's a lot of little things that happen too.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Jade, right before she got in the cell, Naomi looked back at Bianca like,
Yeah.
oh shit. And is that because Bianca
Just,
has masterminded this whole thing? Or is that to
or she's
say,
like,
I'm
oh,
sorry, you,
Bianca's about to find out that what I did. Yeah,
or is it shit? Jade's here, Bianca, we're fucked. Like, is Bianca Belair
exactly. And then
involved with
Bianca,
this? Is Bianca
exactly.
involved with this angle?
And then why was Bianca so emotional? Now, is Bianca, she doesn't understand why Jade has turned on them, or she's mad because they got caught? it's great storytelling, amazing
Yeah,
stuff,
there's
and
a lot.
and Liv doing the whole like I told you it wasn't me,
Yeah, Liv was
like
great. Liv was the
amazing for
MVP
me.
of this match, in my opinion.
Liv was the MVP of the night for me, and I said that several times in the car ride home with Adam. Um, Liv, the things that Liv did in this match were tremendous, so innovative. Some of the stuff that was able to be done. Sometimes you feel like you've seen it all. You're like, what else can they do? What else can you really do with this chamber that we haven't seen before? The stuff she did, bouncing Bianca back and forth with her hair, using her hair to bounce back and forth. There's one time I think it was Roxanne, I think, but had somebody in a pinning scenario, and to ensure the pin, she used Bianca's hair as leverage. The same way a heel will use the ropes to grab the ropes and pull the ropes for pin leverage. She used Bianca's hair. Genius stuff. Genius stuff. I don't know if this goes to the wrestlers. I don't know if this goes to our friend TJ Wilson. I don't know if it goes to the other producers, but whoever came up with some of the stuff in this match, man, this is some of the greatest stuff I've seen in the Elimination Chamber ever. Loved it. Loved all of it. I
So
loved this match.
where do we go from here for WrestleMania? Bianca has a title shot. Are we going to see a
Yeah.
multi-person match? Are we going to see a singles match? She's going to take on the winner. As we record this, it's a Monday afternoon, so Raw hasn't happened yet for us. So we're going to
Mhm.
see Rhea Ripley and Io Sky compete tonight on Raw.
Yeah.
As we record this, what's the most intriguing matchup for you heading into WrestleMania?
From the women's standpoint,
Hmm.
um, I loved that Rhea came out, by the way, and stood behind her, and then Io came out. Wasn't expecting the Io situation, so it's looking like maybe a triple threat situation, and I'm kind of okay with that because I like Io a lot, and I think they could tell a good story, and it's gonna be different. I am, to be perfectly honest, looking forward to that match, however they frame it, more than Charlotte and Tiffany. And I'm not taking anything away from Charlotte or Tiffany. I think they are going to have a good match. But from a storytelling standpoint, from a fan standpoint of what I want to see more, I am more invested in Bianca and Rhea right now.
I would really like to see Bianca and Rhea in a singles match.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that we may see a multi-person match heading into
Yeah.
WrestleMania as well, because you have Naomi, Jade, and Io. I could see it being a five-way. You know what I mean? I
Well,
hope
you're putting
not.
Naomi and Jaden there?
I think Naomi, Jade, and Io all can make a case. I hope
Yeah.
not. I think Rhea and Bianca
I
could
almost,
could main event night one.
if you're going to do a triple threat, I almost want to see a triple threat qualifying match. Have Jade, Naomi, and Io have a triple threat match on SmackDown or Raw, whatever brand they're on, and the winner goes on to be in that triple threat. I don't think it's needed though. You have a tremendous match in Rhea and
I hope they
Bianca
leave it.
already. Yeah.
If we do get that, I hope they go with just the singles match of Rhea and Bianca. That is my
Now I
hope.
think Io's only involved because Rhea did promise her a match.
Yeah,
And the match hasn't happened yet, but the match was not promised for WrestleMania. I was assuming the match would happen on what brand are they on? SmackDown?
Raw.
On Raw. So have the match happen on Raw and push the fact that maybe Bianca's not facing Rhea. Maybe she's facing Io.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out.
Have the match out. You know what I mean?
We'll have more
That
clarity
that
after.
that match almost should have happened at the Elimination Chamber, but I mean, also the Elimination Chamber was long enough already. We didn't need a fifth match.
Yeah.
So I
Um.
almost say put that maybe that match should have happened instead of the tag match we got.
Well, let's go into the tag match. It's
But the
next.
tag match was good. Yeah.
I thought it was great to see Trish Stratus wrestle in Toronto again. I do think, and not a knock because I'm a big fan, but I do think that Candice LeRae should have been either replaced with Charlotte Flair or made it a six-woman tag match and
Yep.
add, you know, somebody else into that match. Because
Yep.
Charlotte and Trish, have a history already, and Charlotte is facing Tiffany. I just think it makes more sense from a
Sure.
booking standpoint. That being said, super pumped up that Candice LeRae got that opportunity because she is one of
Of
the
course.
most underrated women on that roster, and it was great for her to get that opportunity.
Yep.
I thought Trish Stratus looked great in her match.
Of course
Uh,
she did.
I thought that Toronto is definitely a Tiffany Stratton city. They were very
They
much
love.
behind.
They cheer for Tiffany almost as hard as they did for Trish herself. Yeah.
Mhm. And I thought this was exactly what it needed to be. It was a good match after a
And
chamber match and before another big match.
I'm going to quote the great Chris Van Vliet when I say, since the year 2000, Trish has aged 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Oh, she looks
And she
tremendous.
looks great in the ring.
She looks great in the ring. She did everything. I think the only move we didn't get out of her was maybe the Matrish.
Hmm.
Other than that, I believe we saw a chick kick.
Yeah, I think so.
We got all her. She got all her stuff in. So it was great to see. It was nice to see Trish in her hometown. She, not to sound all pervy, but she looked phenomenal in her in her Blue Jay inspired outfit.
Hmm.
She looked great. She looked both physically and in a wrestling sense. She hasn't missed a beat, man.
Yeah,
She's still Canada's sweetheart. I'll tell you that.
and you really got to tip your cap because like she hasn't worked a lot, and there's everyone always says there's a difference between ring shape and a difference between being in shape, and for Trish
Yeah.
to step up and deliver in that type of scenario, absolutely
Mhm.
phenomenal, absolutely
Yeah.
phenomenal. Next up, we had what a lot of people considered the match of the night, with the unsanctioned street fight between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I
Mhm.
love this match. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
The one critique that I will give it, and it's not even a critique, it's a nitpick, is that I didn't see them do anything other than the barbed wire chair that
Mhm.
was like anything different like than they've done before with the violence level. I was
Nor did I
expecting
expect it. I
I
didn't really expect
I
them to go
was
too.
just because of the nature of the build to this one, because it
Now,
just felt a little more personal. Now that being said, they had a great
yeah,
brawl. They had a great brawl. The crowd came alive for this one. What a cool moment for these guys too to have this match. As probably as close of friends as they are in real life. And Kevin Owens, before we get into it, the promo that they did on SmackDown was phenomenal. I don't know if you saw
yes, it
this or
was.
not,
I
but
did.
Sammy was in the ring at the Scotiabank Arena, and he wanted
Wait,
Kevin Owens to
and
come out,
I love the way they did this. By the way,
and
this
then
this was done perfectly.
Kevin Owens came on the screen, and he was in the ring down the street at the Rogers Center for the Elimination Chamber. And
Exactly.
I love that he talked about their history in Toronto, and he specifically mentioned the Ted Reeves Arena, where they had their first singles match in Ring of Honor, I believe,
Yeah.
as well as Kevin Owens challenging for the world title against Nigel McGuinness there. And they mentioned the Markham Fairgrounds by name, which I was at to watch them face the Briscoe brothers as a tag team. So that was really cool to have that personal touch put in
Yeah.
there. And again, when have these guys never delivered together as tag team
I mean,
partners or as opponents?
exactly.
These guys may have the greatest rivalry in the history of wrestling.
That's it in the history of wrestling because
Like,
this rivalry has transpired in WWE.
mhm.
This rivalry has followed their entire careers, no matter where they go.
They're in like
Which is insane.
three
This
or four different promotions now.
Yeah, this is insane. It's so good. Um, there was a lot of subtle nuances to what they did here. We've seen unsanctioned matches before in WWE, but they did little things in this one to make it feel a bit more special. I don't know if you noticed some of these things. For example, the referee was wearing street clothes.
Mhm.
The referee he wasn't in official referee garb. He was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Great choice. They blacked out the turnbuckles.
They blacked out the whole
They,
arena, like the
they
ring, the lighting over
well,
the
they
ring. Yeah.
exactly. They changed the lighting. They didn't have the WWE logos.
Mm.
because it wasn't a
I
WWE
didn't notice
match.
that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, great touch. I love stuff like that. And then it was great to see them, go through the crowd. I was surprised at first not to see anybody get color because there was one point I thought for sure Kevin was going to get busted open.
That drop toe hold spot, I thought for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But then as the night progressed, I think they wanted to save that for the Cody spot to
Yeah,
make that a bit more special and mean more,
as
which
they
makes
should.
sense now. Which makes sense now. But man, um, it's hard to explain to your kid um, because I'm not like my father. I smartened up my kid to kayfabe and stuff like that. With the troubles we're having with him with certain things, I had to, and my wife wouldn't allow me to bring him to a show like this if he didn't know that it was staged.
Mhm,
I tell him it's like a live movie, and these are stunt people.
mhm.
Nobody's getting hurt. Well, it's hard to explain that when, hey, Dad, what's on that chair? I'm like, um, um,
Spray paint.
talk.
It's not barb. That's not barbed wire. That's spray paint.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
Dad,
I
what's
just
barbed wire?
I just no sold it. I didn't answer his question, and then he starts getting hit with. He goes, "Why is it hurting so much more?" I'm like, fuck it. I think it's just I think it's a little sharp. I think the chair is broken and it hurts a little bit more. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, god damn it. But
You hit
it
harder
was a
when you're
hell of
in
a
your
match.
home country.
Yeah, yeah. But it was a hell of a match. They did a great job. Um, there's certain things that you and I we kind of called throughout the last few weeks on the show. One of them was the return of Jade Cargill. The other one was the return of Randy Orton. Here's what I'm going to say about this show in general. This show was just predictable enough and then wildly unpredictable at the same time.
Do you,
Sometimes you and I've discussed that sometimes you want predictable. Sometimes
you
predictable is an
discussed
okay
this?
thing.
You discussed this last week with TJ Wilson, and I thought it was a great conversation that you two had.
And and, and this show is 100% example of what I talked to about with TJ. You and I have been calling for weeks. Yeah, Randy's going to show up at Elimination Chamber. He's going to show up. He's going to show up. Well, guess what? He showed up. But to be like, you can't predict the feeling. You can't predict, man, there's an atmospheric reaction when he enters a building. There is something to seeing him lay out like I had in my mind how I thought Randy would return. I thought Sammy would win the match and then Kevin would just come back and restart it or something like that. Or I thought that Killer Cross or Karrion Kross would come out and Randy would have to come out and stop the a team beating from happening. But the way it went down with the match ending the way it did, and then Randy coming out, because that was a great spot where Kevin made it all the way to the back and then said, "Fuck it, I'm going back." Having him go back, and then Randy comes out. Beautiful stuff. Lays everybody out, including a few of our colleagues here in the Ontario indie world, out with RKO's.
Well, that's
It was
I definitely I haven't said this to you, but I actually have exclusive news onto Randy Orton's return.
oh.
And that would be that Barry Wrestling owner Sean Gibson reached out into his pocketbook and called Randy and said, "Hey, Shane Saber is going to be working security in the ring, and he's really caused a nuisance for us up here in Barry Wrestling. If I throw you a couple bucks, can you hit him with an RKO for me?" But I'm pretty sure the check may have bounced, though. I don't know for sure. I'll have to get confirmation on that one, but super cool to see a couple of our friends from the independent scene there. Jax Williams and Shane Saber both eaten an RKO from Randy Orton. That was exciting for
And
me to see.
Johnny DeLuca was on
Johnny
SmackDown.
DeLuca was on
Uh,
SmackDown.
that
Yeah,
was
I
fun to see.
always love seeing, and especially the good ones too. Like those are three of the three great guys.
One of the nice, some of the nicest guys. I don't know Jax very well,
Jax is
but I've
great.
met Shane a very large amount of times. Johnny, every time I meet him, he's just like the sweetest guy. So it's really cool to see them get their spots.
And then of course that takes us
Now,
into. Oh, you got
and
something else?
here, well, here's where things get weird because if I'm mapping out the night, right, I'm thinking, okay, there's no way they're going to follow that match with the Elimination Chamber because they're going to be burned out after a fucking no DQ match.
I thought we were gonna get the
So
Rock and Cody segment.
my thought at first was, okay, they're going to do the no DQ match right after the women's elimination, and then we're going to get the women's tag as the cooldown. And then that didn't happen. I'm like, well, where's your cooldown? I'm like, oh, of course, the Rock and Cody segment. That's your cooldown. And then we're going to go in the Elimination Chamber. So we finish the match, and then all of a sudden, fucking cage starts coming down. So what are they doing?
Well,
Why? Why?
your
Why?
cooldown spot is the 20 minutes that you get in
Yeah,
between each match now.
you're not wrong. But
What's your take on the new format that they're doing for pay-per-views? Four matches.
being at a show with a 6-year-old, I don't mind those long waits because I had time to bring my kid to the pisser and back, and we
Mhm.
didn't miss a damn thing. So from that standpoint, I liked it.
I do like that you do have those moments to breathe as well from a live
Yeah,
standpoint. I do think though, I think five matches is the perfect card. I think you get and with the
yeah.
Cody and Rock segment, I feel like we
We
got
didn't we didn't
five
we
match
didn't need a
like
fourth match.
we
Yeah,
didn't
we
need the
didn't need
fifth
a fourth
match in
match
there, but
or a fifth match. Sorry,
if they
yeah.
didn't have that segment, I would have liked to have seen a fifth match. Like
Yes,
I would have felt let
I
down
kept
as a paying fan.
expecting.
Yeah.
I kept expecting a fifth match to be added, and then when that Raw happened, and Rock said, "I'll see you in Toronto," I'm like, okay, well, there's your fifth match. It
Yeah.
might not be a match, but that segment is going to take some time. It's going to like rock and talk, man. So that we don't often get promos at pay-per-views. So we're going to see a rare Rock promo at a pay-per-view. It's going to take some time. It's probably going to be 20 minutes. They're going to do their thing. He's going to come out. This is what I expected, by the way. I thought The Rock would come out. He was going to do his whole, I'm going to bring out Cody Rhodes and I want his soul. And he's going to take 20 minutes to talk about souls. And then Cody would come out, say no, and then God knows what else. That's what I expected. But then that cage comes down. I'm like, okay, so I guess they're going to do that right after whoever wins. I'm like, okay, well, that means whoever wins, he's going to be the one to sell his soul to The Rock. Or maybe Cody does sell his soul to The Rock and Cody comes out and attacks the winner. Holy fuck, what is going to happen? At first, I thought it was a bad idea to close with that segment, but as soon as I started thinking around those lines, as soon as I start, this is a great thing about wrestling. Once you start thinking, this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen, they're doing their job right. They did something right. So the format of this show, while on paper looks weird, worked perfectly.
Can we also, before we get into the main event and the main event angle, of course, can we just take a step back and look at the talent that we got on this card?
Ridiculous.
The Rock,
Mm-hmm.
Cody Rhodes,
Uh-huh.
John Cena, Seth Rollins,
CM
CM
Punk.
Punk, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton,
Trish
Trish
Stratus.
Stratus, right? Like the women's chamber
Ba-
match was loaded.
Bailey.
Bailey, like this
No,
was, but
Bianca. Yeah.
but specifically, like look at like this, like Cody, Rock, Cena, Orton, and Punk. Like that's
Yeah.
five of the best.
First First ballot Hall of Famers, every one of them.
100%. 100%. Okay, let's get into the men's chamber match here. I thought Logan Paul, great spot coming out with the American flag, really
Yep.
suits Logan Paul
I
a
think I
lot.
think the chamber match was situated properly. I think the right people were in the pods.
Hmm.
I think that they did that perfectly. Exactly who I wanted to be in the pods were in the pods.
Cool throwback to Money in the Bank with Priest and Seth Rollins starting the match off. Or no, sorry, Drew and it was Drew and Seth, but then Priest in there. So the three participants that were involved in Money in the Bank in Toronto, I thought that was a nice throwback. How about the energy in the building when CM Punk walks out? That
Right,
guy, he's special,
man.
man. He's special.
He is. He
And
is.
then of course the place was ready for John Cena. Huge ovation, rivaled only by Punk in all honesty.
Yeah. But they all got great.
Not
Go
Damian
back to
Priest.
go back to no. Damien kind of got a lackluster, but go back to Sammy and Kevin. Uh, the crowd singing Sammy's song was, I bring you guys back to a few weeks ago when Tyler did his most singable theme song list. Well, holy shit, did we prove that right in this show, because people were singing their hearts out for Sammy. Same thing with CM Punk. Same thing with Randy Orton. Same thing with John Cena. Same thing with Seth Rollins. It
I
was
love
amazing.
I love when Randy Orton's song is sung because like the way it builds is like that second they talk to me. You know what I mean? Like when he's like they
Yeah,
talk to me and then the whole place like they talk to me. It's like, man, that's like electrifying stuff.
it is. Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool feeling being immersed in that.
I
And of course the match happens. We got some really cool moments and scenes in that match.
Mhm.
I kind of felt like we got thrown back to 2011 for a few minutes, and saw some really cool spots with CM Punk and John Cena.
Man, they hadn't missed a
Uh,
beat. They were
right?
phenomenal together. I will say, and I've gone on record and said this, I am not the biggest fan of the Elimination Chamber in general. It's not my favorite
Mhm.
match. I find it's a little not not boring, but like it's just not my favorite.
All right.
I thought this match was laid out incredible. I was in
Yeah,
it the whole time.
me
In my
too.
opinion, it's in the top two best Elimination Chamber matches that I've ever watched personally.
Agreed.
Next only to New Year's Revolution. That one was
Mhm.
really good as well. I'd have to go back and forth on those. I thought that the way that this match was laid out was perfect. I thought having the way that everyone came out of the pods was perfect.
Yeah.
Having Cena come out and clear house and hit the patented Cena stuff. The interaction between Punk and Cena was phenomenal. And
Yeah.
the little things they do, like I don't know if you saw it, but like 'cause you haven't watched it back yet, and neither have I, but I've just seen clips. But when they're about to have that stare down moment. They're looking at each other, and Cena looks at Punk and goes, "I missed you,"
I missed
and
you.
and
Yeah.
Punk goes, "I missed you too." I thought that was really funny. The
I
wrestling,
re-
like the fact that they countered all their moves because they know each other so
yes.
well. Then we got the
Yeah.
throwback to Punk and Seth Rollins, and Cena and Seth Rollins. I thought the
Yeah.
interaction between those three were good. The way that Punk got eliminated, I thought was phenomenal because it really
Mhm.
sets up the next chapter with him
That's
and
not what's
Seth.
about to happen.
Uh,
I'm gonna throw back to that in a few minutes.
And I also
But
really like that Cena did not waste any time in capitalizing on taking advantage of that moment. And another little thing that I just noticed on a clip I saw before we walked in, Cena apologized to Punk right before Punk tapped out. Punk was locked in, and
oh,
Cena was yelling,
yeah,
I'm sorry," because he knew he's being shady. But
yeah.
what a full circle moment at the end here, right?
Yes. One of my favorite moments between those two. I really loved the spot where they hugged
Hmm.
and then went straight into punching each other. And the the punch, and it wasn't like one of them was like hugging and then double crossed them by punching. No, it was a hug. Okay, now let's go to work.
Yeah.
And they're punching each other. You can feel the respect, which is ironic with what we're about to talk about. But you can feel the respect between the two men punching the fuck out of each other. It was great. I love that. The hug right into boom, trading. It was the trading the punches that did it for me, where it was
I'm
one punch, one punch, one punch, one punch. I loved it.
I'm really excited where we live in a world now where we will probably get a match with face CM Punk against a heel John Cena. Like that's gonna be
How
so
insane is that?
good. That's gonna
How
be so good.
insane
And
is
and
that to
Punk
say?
maybe Punk's the guy that will bring Cena back to the good side. Who knows? But
Who
any do you have
knows?
any other comments about the match before we talk about the big news?
No, I think it was laid out perfectly. The finish was done, especially knowing what we know now. The finish was perfect. It set up. I still don't know how I feel about Seth Punk and Roman. I'm not sure where that's going or how I feel about where it's going. But I'll tell you one thing. 3 days ago, I did not give a fuck to see a Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest match at WrestleMania, and now I want it. I want it badly
Let's see.
because
Three
the
days
way they're
ago, 3 days ago, I did not give a fuck to see that match at WrestleMania, and 3 days later, I still do not give a fuck to see that
uh,
match at WrestleMania.
I do. I like the way that they're how they're playing it about how, you know, you go back to what happened at Money in the Bank or at not Money in the Bank, at WrestleMania. You go back to Damian cashing in, and then you go back to Drew attempting to cash in. And they're just linked to each other so much.
You
And this
know,
match has to happen, and it has to happen at WrestleMania. It makes a
You
lot
know
of
what? You're
sense,
right.
and
You're
I'm
actually
actually looking
right.
forward to it.
I'll take my stance back there. I do think that these guys are going to have a phenomenal match in the ring,
Yeah.
and I think that Drew McIntyre leading up to WrestleMania has enough momentum, um, promo work to make this. You're right. There's a lot of history there, and I do think
Yeah.
that
I think it's going to be a
I
great
take it
story,
back.
and I trust Drew to make it a captivating story over the next 6 weeks.
Absolutely.
I really do.
So John
Yeah.
Cena wins the Chamber.
Yes.
I think it's the right move. I think that I love that the final two were Punk and Cena because nobody
Me
knew
too.
who was actually going to win, right?
Yeah.
So the match is
And I
over.
and you're setting up several things. You're setting up Punk's match for WrestleMania. Then you're setting up what is about to happen by Seth Rollins, who is now eliminated, takes out a vulnerable CM Punk with the
hmm
stomp, and Cena. At one point in his career, Cena would have been like, "Oh shit, I'm not getting involved there." But no, Cena looks and he sees his moment, he sees his time, and he says, "Well, sorry I had to do it like this, but I got to do it. It's best for business. I got to get to WrestleMania." And he does. He goes and he puts on the STFU. Beautiful ending. Beautiful fucking way to end that match.
What
Having him put that match on, he looks hesitant, but he's not at the same time.
he did not. He just
Um,
ran right in and grabbed it. He didn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm in.
he did the. I'm glad they didn't make him tap out. He passed out. Perfect. I like every angle and every part of it.
What I like about this for CM Punk going forward too is that Punk's been great leading up to his promo. I love his promos with Seth Rollins. You're obsessed
Mhm.
with me. I don't care about you. I care about main eventing WrestleMania. Well,
Yeah.
Seth just took that away from him. So now
Yeah.
Punk has a reason to care about
Ex-
Seth.
exactly.
And then you have the wild card situation with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. And this
Mhm.
favor, Punk still has a favor. Paul
Yep.
Heyman's going to be torn between Punk and Roman. Seth is going to be great. This is going to be a great match at WrestleMania. I'm really excited for it.
Me too. Um, okay, so then you want to talk about songs you can sing to.
Well, let me just say before. So my wife and I were sitting there, and she like it was really she was cold where we were, and I was really hot.
I don't
But
know how you were hot. It was so cold in that building.
she got really thirsty, and she was like, "Hey, like I was like when the chamber match was going on, she was kind of like, hey, after this match, like let's go out and grab a bottle of water." So I'm like, okay, sure. We almost left after the chamber match, like to go get a water.
You
Because
knew what was coming,
I
though.
didn't think it was going to come that quick, though. I didn't think
Uh,
that Cena would still be in the ring when Cody's music hit. I almost missed the biggest moment in WWE history to get a $9 bottle of water, which we didn't end up
Could you
paying for after
imagine?
the show. They sell bottles
Oh,
of water for a bottle of water for
I don't.
$9.
I
Unbelievable.
don't want to
We did
fucking
not
talk
buy it.
about it.
So, but
I don't
either,
want to talk. I
either,
did I had to.
well, you
I
have
can't
to,
not
yeah,
allow my son to drink, right?
yeah,
But I also paid $20 for a can of beer. So who like fuck?
yeah. I mean, potato, potato, right? That being
Uh,
said, Cena's still in the ring, and Cody Rhodes' music hits, and I was immediately like, man, this is such a genius way to do this segment because we're gonna
mhm.
get interaction between The Rock, Cody, and Cena. Cody, I didn't expect Cody to sell his soul, but then I didn't know. Is Cody gonna turn heel? Like, and then, The Rock comes out with Travis Scott, which I don't know a lot about Travis Scott,
I
but
I get I get
apparently he's a
he's
big deal.
I get that, but I didn't. It's not for me.
If
I
you
and maybe I'm the wrong demographic for this, but
We are,
I could have not had Travis Scott involved.
but
But
I think
who am
he
I?
adds if you see a picture on the internet of John Cena, The Rock, and Travis Scott together, and you're not a wrestling fan, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, what the fuck's going?" Like that's the point of that, and it worked. And
Yeah.
he didn't do anything to ruin the segment. He just didn't do anything to make it better either.
Well,
Um,
ask Cody if he
well,
did
yeah, he
anything.
stiffed the shit out of Cody, but so let's talk about the big thing here. I can admit when I am wrong, and I was wrong. I've spoke to many people about this. Steve Bourne, our friend, being one of them, who said, I think Cena's going to turn heel. I said, absolutely not.
And
There's
I said,
no
absolutely
way.
not.
There's no way John Cena will turn heel.
Not
This
on his
is
retirement tour.
man,
And
and
right up until it happened, I was in denial. I'm like, they wouldn't do that. If they didn't do it in 2012, when they had the perfect chance, they're not going to do it now. They're going to lose too much revenue. They have all these last time is now t-shirts to sell. They're filling buildings by saying John Cena's here for the last time. You need him to be your baby face. You need it. They're not going to turn him. And then the hug happened. Let's
this
let's backtrack a second before this hug though. I loved everything about this whole segment.
Mhm.
The Rock comes out, he does his talking. He's got that stupid fucking Cody Soul belt, which I think is so dumb. But
Do you hear the Dusty jab in there too? Not a lot of people picked up on that when he was like your dream, if you don't say yes to this, your dream will die.
the dream will die. Yeah,
Again, he
yeah.
said, the dream will die again.
Oh, I didn't put it together like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was talking about Dusty.
Um, but then him telling The Rock, listen, I want it. I want it all. Problem is, my soul doesn't belong to me. I gave it to this ring and to those people long ago. And then, of course, that got the crowd going. And I never in 1,000 years could expect the crowd pop for what happened next. When he just looks him dead in the face and says, Rock, go fuck yourself.
So
What a
I
moment in time.
you and I have both been pretty outspoken about how we feel about swearing in wrestling.
Yes. But sometimes
This is the exception to the
this is
rule.
an exception. This is the big,
Uh,
and we said that too with the Christian Edge segment when
mhm.
when they did the go fuck yourself spot. That was an exception then too because it
Yeah.
was it was it was well done. It was well timed. It made sense. It wasn't gratuitous. Same thing here. This wasn't The Rock. Like I even had a problem with last year's build to WrestleMania when The Rock was coming out and swearing every 5 seconds.
I
I
had
had
a
a problem with
problem.
that.
I had a problem 3 weeks ago on
Yeah,
SmackDown when he did it.
yeah. I had
Like
a problem with that.
I
But
don't like it.
this
Or last
made
week.
sense because in this instant, he said exactly word for word what every fan wanted him to say. We're like, if that
It
was me, I'd tell Rock to go fuck himself. And then he did.
and
Beautiful moment.
not only that though, like, and I'm gonna throw a critique at like when MJF does it, it doesn't feel like it feels like he's just doing it to get attention.
Yeah,
And
it's cheap. This wasn't cheap heat. Well, it wasn't heat at all, but this wasn't cheap at all. It's
it
cheap
just
heat when MJF does it.
I thought
He does
that
it.
was perfect. I thought whatever. And then the camera work.
Cena's reaction. Thank you. The camera work was beautiful. It was perfect. Showing Cena's reaction to everything happening. The minute it started off when he said, "I sold my soul for these fans," you saw Cena, yes, yes, yes. And then they go, fuck yourself. Cena looked like a child. Cena's jumping up and he's so happy. He's one of us. He's marking out like we were.
The
And then he
the
goes in for
camera
the hug.
work, the close up of Cena's face when his demeanor changed, and everyone was like,
Yeah.
"What the heck?" And
What
then
the
and
fuck?
then the camera work cut to The Rock, and he did the finish him,
Yeah.
and Cena was still hugging Cody. Cody has no idea. The Rock put his hands down. They let go. Cena's the change of
Oh,
stone face to happy face again. I thought was genius. They let go.
yes.
Cena fucking boom, low
Oh,
blows
right.
him.
Yeah.
I
There's so many little aspects to this moving forward that were just genius. Right down to using Cody's own Rolex to beat the shit out of him. He used Cody's own watch to to bloody him up. I thought that was genius.
I not only think, and I don't, people say recency bias, whatever. I not only think that this is the greatest heel turn in wrestling history, I
Mhm.
think that this is going to be looked back on as one of the biggest moments in WWE
WWE
history.
history. I agree with you 100%. This does surpass the leg drop for me.
Mhm.
Um, I, I had to laugh only because they're like, listen, but you know, Hogan was the man before and blah blah blah. Hogan was the biggest babyface in WWE or WWF, but look at the time frame. Really, to me, it really starts at WrestleMania. Sure, he was the man a little bit before WrestleMania, but the world didn't get to know him until really 1985. He turns 11 years later. 11 years later,
And he
not
wasn't
22 years later.
well, but and even more than that though, like the Hulk Hogan in 1996 was barely hanging on. Like the crowd was done.
Exactly.
He, his WCW run, he was getting booed out of the building a
Yeah.
lot. The
Yeah.
red and yellow had run its course. That heel turn saved Hulk Hogan's career.
Exactly.
This heel turn,
This,
John
this,
Cena, the balls that he has to do this, he didn't
yeah.
have to do this. He
No.
he could have gone in, and people would have been so happy seeing Cena come into every town and be goofy fun John Cena and give it to us one more time and run the nostalgia train. And John Cena decides on his, and I guarantee you that this is a decision between John Cena and Triple H. Cena had to have a lot to say in this, in my opinion.
Mhm.
This is my last run. I want to go out and make this the most memorable run on the planet. Let's do a heel turn. And they shocked the wrestling world. They pulled it off. Unbelievable. They have added such a buzz, over 3 million views in 24 hours on YouTube for this angle.
Yeah.
They have added such an excitement to the WWE, and John Cena in the year 2025 on his
Was the
retirement
most
tour
talked
is
about
probably
wrestler.
the most excited I've ever been for John Cena.
Yeah.
What a way to honor this man's legacy. And you know what? After this run is over, if this run goes the way that it could go,
Yeah.
he could be the greatest WWE superstar of all time. He could pass Stone Cold, in my opinion.
Let's let this year pass out. And I want to talk. I want to have this conversation in January, 100%. Another thing, what I love about this, you have to sit back and look back now. Talk about the foreshadowing. Okay,
The Rock.
let's start. Well, yeah, and I didn't understand. I still don't quite understand what's going on with the three and then the two. I'm not sure what the significance is there. I'm not sure what that exactly means. I'm hoping that that riddle is unraveled in time. But I mean, going all the way back to Royal Rumble. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
start with the man who is all about hustle, loyalty, respect. Okay, put himself into this match without earning it. The hustle is gone. All right. Then he turns his back on Cody and the fans. The loyalty is gone. Then he comes out for his press conference, doesn't say a word, takes the mic and drops it, showing zero respect. Fuck, I get goosebumps just thinking about this. This was so well thought out, So well thought out. Apparently, right up until it happened, the only people that knew about this were The Rock, Brian Gewirtz, Triple H, John Cena, and Cody Rhodes. And even Cody didn't know about it until very late in the game.
Yep.
I am so excited to see what the next few weeks are going to lay out. Now, I was very excited for tonight's Raw, thinking, what will heel Cena say on his first promo? Cena will not be at Raw tonight.
And I like that.
He jumped on a plane right after the pay-per-view, went straight back to Hungary to finish filming his movie. He is scheduled for Raw, I believe, next week or the week after.
I don't know for sure. I didn't see the date, but yeah.
I saw he's got 2 Raws in a row where he's scheduled. And I believe it's next week and the week after, I think. But he's not going to be there tonight. So we have at least a week to stew on this and to see what Cody's thoughts are. I don't know if the final boss will come out at all during this, but
I don't think so. I don't think we need it.
We'll see what happens. But I cannot wait to see Cena for the first time on television because so many questions. How's he going to dress? What music is he going to play? Is he going to talk? Or is he just going to come out and drop the mic again? Is he going to pull a Chris Jericho? Remember that great Chris Jericho run where Jericho would come to the ring, grab the mic, and then not talk and then leave? He could do something very...
Some people might call that great. Other people might not.
I liked it.
I didn't like that one too much.
He could do something similar to that where I don't owe you shit. I cannot wait to hear this first promo because for the first time in 25 years, we can finally hear him dress down the fans for booing him for all those fucking years.
Can I honestly...
We can finally give them back the disrespect that they showed him for all those years. I'm so excited for heel Cena. It's ridiculous.
My perfect world for this is for his music. I would like it to be the start of his iconic theme song, My Time Is Now, and then a record scratch, and maybe go into a Travis Scott song.
I mean,
right?
I was thinking if Travis did something for him there, yeah.
And then I want to see heel John Cena just be total diva John Cena. Because he was such I want him to come out in the suits, and I want him to be...
That's what he said. He did an interview earlier this year with Chris Van Vliet, where he talked about what would have happened had they let him go heel in 2012. And he flat out said, he goes, I was just going to turn it around. Everything you know of me, I'd do the opposite. Hustle, I was never going to show up. If I was supposed to be on Raw, I just wouldn't show. He goes, loyalty, yeah, screw everybody there. Respect, I was going to show all the disrespect. He goes, never give up. I was going to tap out on everything. I was going to be the biggest chicken shit heel you knew. So he already has been thinking about this for over a decade.
Yeah.
He's got a game plan. I do think, and he said the outfit too. He goes, I wasn't going to wear this stuff. I was going to wear suits and stuff. And he did mention that at Money in the Bank. He flat out said, he's like, listen, he goes, when I do retire after January, I'll be back in an ambassador role, but this is done. He goes, I'm not going to be out here with the t-shirts and the jeans and stuff like that. I'm done. You'll see me in suits. I'll be in a different role. Now, we didn't expect to see that until January. I think we start seeing it now. I think we start seeing suit Cena, or even better, imagine he starts dressing like The Rock. The really flashy.
Only The Rock can dress like The Rock. So I have 2 questions for you, and then I got nothing left in my brain for the show here. And my first question is, do you put Cena over at WrestleMania?
Oh, 3 days ago I said you have to. Okay. Now I'm not sure. It all depends on where they want to go with this, because I don't think they end by December. I don't think he's a heel anymore.
No.
Right? So how long do you want to stretch this for? How long is this going? Is this a Shawn Michaels in 2005 deal where it's going to be one match and then I had to know? Or are you going to stretch it until, let's say, SummerSlam? So it all depends. If it's a one and done, he's got to lose at WrestleMania. If it's not, then I think he wins at WrestleMania and then drops it back at SummerSlam.
I
And
think
then
you
and then turns again.
I think you absolutely have to have John Cena win at WrestleMania and
I'm thinking
continue this heel run. And I would like to see him turn back around Survivor Series. Maybe he's in a
that
War Games
that late,
match.
eh?
I want to see him turn back and around Survivor Series and then finish up the next month as a babyface.
So do you think maybe
I
then if he's gonna fit?
I don't want to see him back in jorts until his last match.
We've had a lot of talks about what we think Rock's last match will be or not. Cena's last match will be or should be. There's a match that I never considered for his last match, but I think could happen now, and maybe should happen now. If he's going to turn, let's say at Survivor Series, maybe his last match in December needs to be against The Rock.
I think maybe it should be like a six man, like Cena, Cody, and Punk against The Rock and insert heels
Yeah.
here. I don't think Cena.
You're very big on this. I want
I
his
don't
last
think
match.
Cena's last match needs to be a singles match.
I
I
I, I
I
I I adamantly disagree with you.
I just don't. I don't know if John Cena versus The Rock. Like I don't know if The Rock can go in a singles match. Is my concern.
You may not be wrong about that. You know,
Like
I think
those,
there's a reason we didn't get him in a singles match at WrestleMania last year.
right? Like Cena, Punk, and Cody against The Rock, Roman Reigns, and like
But look,
Jacob Fatu.
but now look what we're gonna get. We're gonna get heel Cena versus CM Punk at some point.
Hmm.
We're gonna get heel Cena versus face Randy Orton. Like, holy shit!
Yeah.
What world are we living in? This is Bizarro World. I told you it was Bizarro World, TJ. I told you. Look what happens when people come to Canada.
The last question I have for you, Mike, and I'm going to turn the reins over to you to either get anything else off your mind or to take us home. We know that night two of WrestleMania has to be main evented by John Cena versus Cody
Agreed.
Rhodes.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
main events night one?
There's a lot of variables here. You have to see what happens over the next few weeks. It's got to be one of three matches, obviously. To me, it has to be a championship match. For me personally, I think it has to be a championship match. So is it going to be Gunther and Jey Uso? Is it going to be Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton? Or is it going to be Rhea versus Bianca and whoever? Right now, if I'm booking, I'm booking in the way that I want to see things, Rhea and Bianca is my go-to. I think I want them to close night one with Rhea and Bianca because I think that's going to be a phenomenal match.
Mhm.
If it ends up being a triple threat with Eel, I might change my mind about that because
Yeah.
now it depends on the booking and how you're going about it. Gunther and Jay could be a great closer. Me personally, there's no scenario where I close with Charlotte and Tiffany.
No,
There's just
I agree.
there's just no scenario where that happens. It's one of these two matches. Jay and Gunther could be a good closer. I just need to see them up their game a bit over the next few weeks.
I mean, the
Walter,
promo
Gunther
work.
is tremendous. Gunther is being the heel general. He's the perfect heel for what Jey Uso needs right now. But something's missing. It doesn't feel like a WrestleMania main event yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I don't know what it is. There's just something, and like one little missing piece that I'm sure they'll find, or they already have it. They just haven't played it yet. Because don't get me wrong, I am not in this camp of they're it doesn't feel like WrestleMania because it's Jey Uso. I like Jey Uso, and I think Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble was a good idea, and I like this match. I do like Triple H's shot at those kind of people at the press conference. Where he's like, "Okay, does it feel like Road to WrestleMania now?"
Mhm.
You know, but so I'm not shitting on the match at all. But for a WrestleMania Night One main event, Is it there yet? Does it feel like the main event yet? Right now, I think Bianca and Rhea feels more main event worthy to me.
Fair.
That's just me.
I think it's a toss-up between three matches. I think that we have the possibility of Gunter and Jey Uso, the possibility of Rhea and Bianca, and I think we have the possibility of Punk, Roman, and Seth. And I think that Triple H is going to let the talent decide. And he said that at the press conference. And I think it's going to be who's going to step up and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. WrestleMania is very, very interesting. This is the most interesting road to WrestleMania in many, 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 many years. Because I still don't know what WrestleMania looks like. And that's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. I love it. It's such a great time to be a wrestling fan. Even better time to be a WWE fan.
Yeah.
I'm loving this right now.
Yeah.
Anybody shitting on WWE's booking or Triple H's visions right now, it's cool. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
See you
We're not going to
later.
miss you.
Yep.
There's plenty other wrestling to watch. Go watch fucking something else. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Cool. I'm not going to judge you, but stop bitching about it because this is some of the greatest stuff WWE has done in 20 fucking years.
Yep. Man, I got nothing left in the tank. I think
Neither
that
do I, man.
this was a fantastic weekend
You've
to be a
got
wrestling fan.
We've got a lot of stuff going on in the next few weeks. You've got a great list. I'm not sure if it's going to be next week or not, but you have a great list coming up. And then we have our 5-year anniversary show creeping up real fast. Very special guest for that show.
Absolutely, that's true.
And you're going to, it is true. You're going to have other interviews spattered over the next few weeks. To pull the curtain back, I didn't even get to tell you off air that I officially got the news. I am going to Mexico for a week.
Hey,
So
arriba.
Tito invited me. I'm going with my family to Mexico for a week, so I will be off the show. But we do have a ton of interviews in our backlog. So I think we're going to be sharing a lot of those with you over the next few weeks to kind of fill those voids. Like I said, you've got a great list being prepared that is very Toronto-centric. And that is our big 5-year show coming up. So the month of March is going to be very excited here in Canada Outland. Before we leave, I just want to say one last time that as always, as every show has been for the last 365 days, this show especially is dedicated in the memory of my brother, James. He very much was with me this weekend at Elimination Chamber. It was really cool to watch wrestling with my son in that building and in a building that he loved. He loved the Skydome. He's a big Jays fan. He loved the Skydome. So we love you, James, and you're always with us as part of the show. Every time that beautiful theme cracks up, that theme is your theme. So until next week, my friends, please keep listening to Count It Out. We have a hell of a month in front of us, and then it's WrestleMania. Fuck, what are we going to do for WrestleMania? We'll see. Until then, my friends, you've been counted out.
Arriba.